Julie Bjelland is a psychotherapist, author, and founder of the online community Sensitive Empowerment with resources for highly sensitive people.
The biggest challenge for most highly sensitive people is having an overly activated emotional brain. This impacts us in all areas of our life. To put it simply, there are two parts of our brain: the emotional, irrational part of our brain, and the cognitive thinking part of our brain. When our emotional brain is overly activated, our cognitive brain basically goes to sleep. This sets us up a system that prepares our brain for the fight or flight response, which is meant to protect us. But for most highly sensitive people, especially those scoring high on my sensitivity scale, experience an overactivation of that emotional brain, which causes lots of different problems. We can experience the following symptoms when we have too much activation in our emotional brain and not enough support from our cognitive brain. Feelings of anxiety, activated fight-flight response. You get that feeling like you want to run or hide or fight. It's an icky internal feeling. Irrational emotional messages that feel right in the moment but are not accurate. Adrenaline surges that cause a racing heart and shaky feeling, plus lots of chronic conditions develop and worsen when this happens too often. Increased sensitivity and emotional reactions, difficulty thinking clearly, focusing and concentrating, inability to access memories or take in new information, increased agitation, irritation, or anger, feelings of panic, feelings of overwhelm, stomach aches, headaches, sleeplessness, loss of creativity, and an overwhelming feeling of just being really stuck in life in general. When we experience symptoms of anxiety, for example, our brain is responding to the fact that it believes we are in real danger. It feels awful, affecting every aspect of our lives, causing us to lose sleep, feel overwhelmed, experience physical symptoms that cause us lots of problems like headaches, migraines, digestive issues, stomach aches. Our brain responds to a stressor the way it would if we were actually in danger, even though we're not. So while anxiety can be a normal experience for most people, it can be elevated for a sensitive person. For example, our stress levels may go up a lot when we have to meet new people, go for a job interview, speak in public, attend a social gathering, go to a new school or an event, be around crowds. Sometimes it even happens when we are unable to even pinpoint the exact cause of our anxiety. Understanding the emotional brain. What's happening in the brain when our cognitive brain has gone to sleep? There is an almond-shaped part of our brain called the amygdala that gets activated when our brain thinks that there's something it's supposed to protect us from. Its job is to help us run away if we're in danger or fight to protect ourselves, which is why it's referred to as the fight or flight response. When the amygdala receives a signal that you're in danger, it sends signals to your body to release adrenaline, certain other hormones, and even more oxygen gets put into your muscles so your body can defend itself. In other words, you're able to run away or fight. It happens so fast that we don't even realize it's happening. Remember, this is not the thinking part of your brain, so it doesn't know when you're in real danger or when you just perceive a threat. It can even be if somebody's cutting you off in traffic, or perhaps somebody's criticized you or you made a mistake. Then your brain responds as if your lion is about to attack you. It doesn't know the difference. If you were about to be attacked or hurt, your amygdala does a wonderful job of preparing your body for defense. But research shows that HSPs have a more activation in their amygdala. So we spend even more time in an activated defensive brain state than most people. The problem with the amygdala is that it can't tell the difference between something that might actually hurt you or something that won't. And maybe you're just under high stress. If you don't need to fight or run, then the amygdala has flooded you with adrenaline, other stress hormones, and sent out oxygen into your muscles that you don't even need or use. And as these build up, you are overwhelmed with the feeling of being anxious. shutting down that cognitive part of your brain. Increased oxygen effects. During a perceived threat, our brain sends signals to slow down our breathing so that the oxygen can be used for our muscles to run or fight, causing a shallow type of breathing pattern. That's why we may feel out of breath or even feel a sense of flushing in our faces. If we don't use it for fighting or fleeing, then the oxygen builds up in it builds up and causes carbon dioxide to drop, which can give us that dizzy, overwhelmed feeling. Our heart starts to beat faster, too, in order to move all the increased oxygen throughout our bodies. A racing heart often makes us feel sick and dizzy as well. With all this extra unused fuel, our muscles can tense up. And as our bodies start to overheat, we can start to sweat to cool ourselves down. Some of the digestive effects. Our bodies start to prioritize what they need available during a threat and what can be shut down in order to conserve energy. And our digestive systems get affected because the fuel that our bodies need to digest food isn't needed for fighting or fleeing and is therefore perceived as being wasted. This is why we might get that familiar butterfly sensation in our stomach, have digestive problems, feel nauseous, or even vomit. A lot of sensitive people have digestive issues, and this is one of the reasons having this constantly activated is a problem. Now, bypassing the emotional brain overactivation. It's pretty remarkable how our bodies shut down what they think we don't need in order to preserve more energy for our muscles, so to fight faster or harder, or to run. The problem is that there's no real threat. Our bodies don't use that extra fuel well, and that actually leaves us feeling quite bad physically and emotionally. I think it's helpful to understand what the brain is doing and why we experience the feelings we have when we're stressed or anxious. By understanding what's happening, we can work on ways to prevent it. So the brain training program I've developed helps us turn our cognitive brain back on, even allowing us to bypass the alarm bells when we don't need them. This means that we don't have to go through that physical and emotional, feelings that feel so bad to us, all those symptoms. When our stress levels are very high on a daily basis, we're too close to overactivating our emotional system, so it becomes nearly impossible to bypass it. Fortunately, there's tools that can teach us how to lessen our daily stress and therefore be more successful at getting out of and bypassing this emotional system that's taken over. And it's quite easy to train your brain to activate calming centers, and that actually deactivates stress centers because they can't be activated at the same time. So my brain training for the highly sensitive person, my program teaches you specific tools to keep in balance. It's really remarkable how helpful it is to feel in control when you need it. Your health improves, you sleep better, you feel calm instead of reactive. Your relationships improve, you're more creative and have brain space to live in balance and find meaning in your life. And this is quite easy to do with the techniques that I've developed, especially for the way you experience the world. Most programs are created for the people without the trait of high sensitivity. And this one is created especially for highly sensitive people and the way you and your brain experiences the world. And I really want you to know that you can live in balance and truly thrive as a sensitive person. Most HSPs who take my program start to notice a difference within the first 2 weeks. And these skills and techniques that you learn for your sensitive system, they stay with you for a lifetime. So that's something that's quite incredible, that once you learn these skills, you actually can train your brain for a lifetime. And that means that everyone around you benefits. Imagine what your life could be like if you could really learn how to balance this part of your sensitive system.